Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Executive Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Alba. I got a real special guest for you today. It's Miluna Fausch. And I'm really excited for you to meet her. And I'll explain why after the intro. But let's get right in. We've only got 30 minutes for so let's get right into it.
The Stroke of Genius Podcast, hosted by brain aneurysm and stroke survivor Aaron Avila, sharing the experiences of survivors and CEOs. This is your destination for inspiration.
So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Miluna.
Forbes author of Uplevel Your Communication, Evolve Your Presence and Speech to Change Everything. Dr. Miluna Fausch has an intuitive and pragmatic perspective from her experience in 9-to-5, retail, sales, as a businesswoman, investor, and a professional actor. She has a BS in music business and a Ph.D. in holistic psychology, accompanied by extensive training in business, voice, acting, intuition, and energy healing. Dr. Miluna is certified as a miracle-minded coach by Marianne Williamson, and she has sold everything from magazine advertising to Steinway grand pianos. Dr. Miluna created her exclusive Vocal Archetypes to train executives and thought leaders in intentional, enlightened speaking and stage presence. She loves to attend concerts and lectures, travel, wine taste, carries a Swiss passport, and is a huge fan of Formula One auto racing.
Hey, good morning, Miluna. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast.
Thank you, Aaron. It is a pleasure.
Yeah, we're going to touch on the Formula One racing at the end, but I can't help but that is like I don't know, it's kind of gets your curiosity up. So we're going to touch on that towards the end of the podcast. So stay tuned, everyone. You'll find out why Miluna Fausch loves Formula One racing. It's going to be amazing. So how you doing this morning, Miluna?
I'm doing well, thank you.
And where are you located? Introduce yourself, if you would.
I am zooming in. We are videoing in from Monterey, California.
Oh, so you're Southern Cal. I forgot about that. You're in Long Beach. You're near Long Beach. You're next up from there. They have their Grand Prix races there. I went to them once. Yeah, but I really want to take a minute because I only got 30 minutes and I'm trying to slow down my speech so you can understand me. But I want everyone to know I had been in C-suite for some time. And with the speech that's inherent, I sometimes struggle, but most times struggle understanding someone. But the very first time I met you, Miluna, the thing, not the number one, the energy connection you and I have, but I can understand every word you said perfectly in sync. It was great. And I'm just here, there's really some truth because if you can touch me, your theory, your genius of speech, there's nobody you can't touch and connect with. So welcome to that.
Thank you so much. It is my desire to leave no one out. So as you said, that means our audience is made up of folks with different abilities. Some hear with 2 ears, some I hear with my left ear. We come differently. We hear differently. We learn differently. And that's one of my major don't know if I want to say philosophy. It's more than that, but I don't
Well,
want
it's kind of like if you can reach me, Balloon, you can reach anybody. Honestly, I mean, I'm one of the hardest tip for demographics to reach. But the importance of leveling up your language, the way you speak, the way you present as a leader is, I mean, I'm proof. You reached me, you connected with me, and I really love this. I think you're awesome. But
to.
I'm curious, you mentioned what are the 3 6 C's as language arts that we could use as leaders for just speak about?
Yes, I believe that speaking well and having a clear message is the difference between a person and an extraordinary leader. Extraordinary leaders communicate beautifully. The 6 C's of language arts: consciousness, clarity, courtesy, compassion. In fact, I've forgotten what my 6 C's are. Let's see. Oh, that's funny. Compassion, clarity, courtesy. Did I say compassion already? Yes, I did. Courage and inclusiveness. That may be 5. I need to look at my 6 C's, don't I?
It's like when you're speaking so clearly. So I know something. I'm with you. I speak slower, and that really makes a huge difference. You're very articulate and you speak slowly, so even most people can understand you. And I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Most folks do speak too fast. It signals to our times how much we're pressed to do in a day, but it gives off a feeling of rush and I don't have time and I need to get to another meeting. And we can feel that energy, can't we? I can
Yes.
feel that, and I know you can too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Not that you said that. That really is true. That you feel like you're being rushed by the person that's speaking to you. So I really appreciate that.
Mm.
But I'm curious now. You had wrote a book called "Uplevel Your Communication." Tell us, what does it teach us? Tell us about your book.
Thank you, Erin. Here she is. Oh my goodness. Uplevel your communication. Evolve your presence and speech to change everything. Chapter 1 begins with my own story of the wake up call. And I know your audience knows what that is. I had a fist sized tumor about this big right here in my head. And you can imagine what happens when you come face to face with, I'm in trouble, my mortality, am I going to be okay? My face was literally paralyzed. My eye was drooping. I had trouble eating and chewing. I was in big trouble. What ended up happening, my doctor discovered a tumor. It is a benign tumor called a chondroblastoma. And it was in my head, my ear, beginning to go into the brain lining. So in 2002, I had my first surgery, 9.5 hours on the table to remove that tumor. 6 months later, I was back in surgery to remove material that had become infected. So literally, I had an infection from that first surgery. So you can imagine I did a review of my whole life. Could I still act? Could I still sing? I lost the physical hearing in my right ear. My face was paralyzed. Was it going to be okay? Could I get my health back? And as you can see, the answer is yes to all of that. But it sent me on a spiritual path. And the book is largely around my observations, my own spiritual journey, mainly studying the goddess tradition, where we have 4 phases of life. And I realized our voice echoed those 4 phases of life. That's how I begin the book. We talk about inclusive, beautiful speaking, energy, how to properly introduce folks, how to speak to a global audience. Here in the US, we're very informal, but what about countries that are formal? We need to have a range understanding how to introduce folks properly. We talk about how to lead meetings, how to look better on camera, how to set up a backdrop, and how to sell and connect better to folks. And I call that real relationships.
You know, you talked about energy. The transference of energy is through communication. It's so important. I'm sorry, I get tickled too. I'm covered up on. I'm very bad.
I'm going to take a sip of water here with you.
Yeah, it happened. Unfortunately, I have a swallow deficit, and how I'm hosting podcasts, I have no idea. But I think what really strikes me and hits me as we're talking is that energy is transferred through communication a lot of times, most of the time. So, how critical, can it get any more critical and a leadership point of view for me to be able to communicate my vision, my passion, my energy with you? No. So I appreciate what you're doing and what you're doing. So what is, if you would just pick the most common problem out there people having as a leader, what would you say is it speaking too fast? Like we said earlier, most people speak too fast. What advice can you give us to be a better leader?
Yes, I think it's what I call static interference. And to me, it's a few things that we do, one of them being what you just said. We speak too fast. For me, it would be filler words. Or I was listening to a speaker a couple of days ago, and she kept clearing her throat. So there'd be a clearing of the throat every 30 seconds or minute. This for me signals that we are not connected with our audience. We're not aware that we are clearing our throat. And anything clearing of the throat, fidgeting, so, like, filler words, indefinite words, words with no purpose, no pause. For me, that is an interference. So, as you said, the message isn't heard, the movement, we haven't influenced our people, the pitch isn't funded. It is absolutely key. And I think it's one of the most overlooked skills. We talk about, oh, I need technology, I need this. Yes, but if you can't communicate that clearly, how is that going to work?
That is so true. And I'm to see Miluna, I am guilty of looking over that. I have a speech deficit, so I can't wait to work with you. I know I don't work with you in the future, but communication is everything, really. And your book, I've not read it, but your book, getting it, I ordered it. But how do you use your book to address the critical nature of speaking? What is it it teaches us?
I have a lot of case studies in the book. So I'll speak about just being out in the world. Yes, walking in the world, I'm observing. How did they communicate that? How did I feel? Did I respond or did I react? And this is my observation and experimentation in the world. And every day I see something. How'd that work? Yesterday, I was in a hardware store and looking for a specific type of light bulb. And there was a woman in there, and literally she and the store owner were almost in a fight. Now, not only does this affect the two of them, but there were 5 or 6 customers lined up waiting. Now we are all affected. And I think this woman was trying to get her money back on something that he said she did not purchase at his store, but she wouldn't let it go. She just kept coming back. And she said, I'm trying to give you business here. Oh, and I need to return something I bought at Christmas. Well, he became angrier and angrier. The return policy is 30 days. And what does that mean? And I felt compassion for her. I wondered, why would you need to try to return things? It's a complete lack of integrity if she did, in fact, not buy it there. He was angry and just kept moving away from her. He didn't want to deal with it. And so this is an example of anger and blame and unclear communication. And the woman seemed to have no awareness that a whole group of people were lined up ready to pay. So I think there's certainly a better way to handle it, minus the anger. Maybe she makes an appointment with the owner later to speak about it. You know, there's a better way of doing that without impacting. So the world is just a laboratory of learning for me. So in the book, I talk about a lot of these things. Here's what it was. Here's how I would improve it. Here's how it affected those of us involved.
Wow. So, you know what's amazing? When just yeah, your volume is can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that whole scenario you just played in the hardware store was all based on the way of communication. It was a lack of. And I realized as one with a speech deficit, I need to slow down. It's so difficult to slow down. But it's so, I noticed with you, and that's what struck me when I first met you. The connection energy was so flawless because of the way you're speaking. And we as leaders, me included, we as C-suite leaders, I mean, I did love leadership. You call it love leadership. Please explain what it is and how does speaking impact love leadership?
Thank you. That's something new that I'm using. I believe that when we use our voice for good, we are clear in our message, our branding, what's authentic to us. So my words, the song I sing, the words I speak are going to be different than yours. And it's up to us to grow into that, find out what that is, gain that clarity, and then we can speak with love. Now, as you know, love that has so many faces, right? We can't say what love really looks like. For me, sometimes that might be a very gentle voice. I might get soft. For other times, I need to raise up and be fierce in my love and set a boundary for someone who's walking all over me or what I feel is disrespecting. And so I want us to be mindful of when we are centered in a place of love and service as C-suite, as thought leaders, as founders, and we're clear on what that means. For example, the word nice and kind have very different meanings. The word love and adore, you can hear the difference. You can feel the difference in frequency. And when we will take the time to find out, what does my love leadership sound like? What's my presence and energy around this? Then how can we not impact, influence, and make that difference that we're here to make?
That is so true. I mean, so it's got time goes by so quick, Miluna. Say we have a leader out there that watches this video and wants to contact you. What is your steps of getting new clients, and how do we contact you?
Thank you. My website, same as my name, the branding is milunafausch.com. And I'll spell it. I know Aaron will put it out there visually. Miluna, Miluna, Fausch, F like fantastic, AUSCH, milunafausch.com. And folks can connect with me in a number of ways. You can sign up for my Pitch Perfect Insiders. That's my once a month newsletter. I send out first news. I make a video, a 2-minute video with training or tips or insights. I talk about my book signings. Someone could also download my phone app, Life's a Pitch. And that is a free phone app for both iPhone and Android. Folks can reach out to me on the website. And if you know you're ready to have a conversation about your voice, your ministry, your movement in the world, and turning up your volume, then you can book a 45-minute complimentary, easy for me to say, assessment with me. We will get on Zoom video. We will talk about your needs, the leadership gaps that you're feeling and experiencing, what's holding you back. And I'll let you know if I'm the one to assist you in getting to that new greatest level in your life and love leadership.
That's so awesome. I want the audience to know that I will also put the links, everything Miluna is talking about. I'm going to pronounce your name right. Miluna. Oh, God. My stupid self just palmed down, so I mess up there. Could you say it for me one time, please?
Miluna.
Miluna.
You got it.
Well, let that be an example to the audience. Get your communication, make it priority. Because I'm with Miluna, where a lot of times we minimize or put down on the scale how important it is. But if you do any public speaking, being a leadership position, you've got to make sure your words are correct, and that you're speaking in a place that connects with that person. And I think is really what you're all about, is connecting. You connect the energy through words, through communication. And so I encourage you to contact Miluna if you have need any help in that area. But I want to take a few minutes of the show because I'm curious with I promise the audience. Now let's talk a little about Formula One racing and why a girl like you is out there in the Formula. How did you ever get into Formula One racing?
I think there's a few connections here. When I was a little girl, I would swing and sing in my backyard. And I thought I will be either a superstar singer or a race car driver. So it's always been part of my interest or love. I'm not sure why, but I can tell you the boys that I dated always had hot cars. They were really nice men and they had hot cars. I think part of the magic for me is the auditory. Now, you know, my ears are so sensitive. I'm picking up things that other people are not hearing or not sensing. And that's that energy vibration level. So what I love to do is listen to the sound of a car engine. And I'm usually accurate. I can tell you what engine that is. A Ferrari has a specific sound and frequency. A Mustang has a specific sound. A Cobra has a specific sound. A Maserati has a specific sound. A Corvette has a specific sound. And for me, it's a frequency. And so when you have cars that are what I think made at the highest craftspeople, I don't want to make it all about the male. It's everyone. There is a magic in that. And I think it's the highest and best of humanity to create beautiful things, whether it's our voice and we are an actor, a minister, a leader, a CEO. It's a song that we record that changes everyone's life. It's a piece of art or jewelry or a really hot car. So a few years ago, when we were living in Southern California, now you know you are what you drive there. It's important how you look and what you drive. I found a used car that was in the budget, much less than buying a new car. I have the pleasure of having a 2003 SL55 Mercedes-Benz AMG.
Yeah,
Guess what color she is, Aaron?
I have no idea.
What would you think, knowing me?
Well, that's a rough one. I'm not going to say I have my indication, but go tell me what color she was.
Red.
Um,
She's red. So it represents, to me, it represents my frequency and energy. So for someone like me, I couldn't drive just any car because cars also have a feel, a sound, and an energy. And I wouldn't be good with an electric car because I need to hear it. So hybrids, perhaps, but for now, I love my car, the sound, the feeling, the energy, the speed. She's a little race car. She really is.
yeah, you know, it's funny that you meant that because my wife owns a Mercedes 550 SL AMG, and she gets down the thing, and you talk about frequency. And I'm going to get to how important that frequency is, but when you, for any of you Mercedes owners out there, a high-end made car, there is a frequency just heard Miluna talk about that it resonates with you. It is. I don't even know how to put words to it. Really, there is a frequency, energy, if you will, with the fine-tuned motor, and there's nothing like it. You know, you could put Honda, Lexus, some high-end stuff, but you could take any American vehicle, no offense, but there is a frequency and an energy with a fine motor, like a European motor. But you will then take verbal communication to that same level of energy, and I just am so amazed at it. I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. You can think of me as the recalibrator. This is for the folks who care enough to speak their very best. It makes a difference, as you know. You know,
Yeah,
that makes.
yeah, I agree with you. It's that frequency, it's that connection, and I feel I'm feeling, and I'm going, man, I didn't realize how much the frequency that we speak, the way you lead, it really is everything. The way you talk, the way you communicate, the way you make somebody feel, number one. It really changes everything. So I want to encourage you as we wrap up the last few minutes or so. I want to encourage you, audience, to please don't take for granted your speech. Don't take for granted how important communication is in your company. Get hold of Dr. Miluna Fausch, and she will help you up level your communication. And so I appreciate you being there. Thank you very much, Miluna.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Blaze last little closing thing. Thank you for being here.